Have you ever wondered why we fight in the dark? We fight to protect humanity from the monsters. But what if we found out that humanity itself was the monster? What if protection meant extermination? Welcome to the end of history.
Initializing system. Accessing restricted archives. Foundation secure database. File SCP-5000. Code name Y. Source: recovered digital logs from a Mark III mechanical exclusion suit found in the Nevada desert. Subject status: Pietro Wilson, deceased. Warning: the following audio logs document the timeline where the SCP Foundation declared war on the human race. Retrieving log number 1. Play.
Air. I need air. Where am I? My eyes are open, but I can't see anything. The darkness is heavy. It feels like it's pressing against my face. I try to lift my hand to wipe my eyes, but my hand hits something hard, something cold. I'm trapped. Am I dead? Is this a coffin? The smell. God, the smell is suffocating. It smells like burnt oil, stale dust, and that copper taste of blood in the back of your throat. I can hear my own heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. It's deafening inside this shell. Suddenly, a whirring sound. A small fan spins up near my neck. A stream of cool, recycled air hits my sweaty face. Then, light. Green text starts dancing in the air before my eyes. System online. Mark III exclusion suit active. Vital signs. Stabilizing. A suit? Why am I wearing combat armor? My name is Pietro Wilson. I'm an electrician. I fix the lights in the Site-19 cafeteria. I'm not a soldier. I try to move. The suit is heavy, incredibly heavy, but the hydraulic joints respond with a mechanical groan. I push the door in front of me. As it creaks open, I step out into the hallway. Site-19. I know this place. This is the East Wing corridor. But it's dead. No lights, no movement, just the emergency red strobes spinning silently. I take one step. The sound echoes like a gunshot in the empty space. I look down at the floor, and I wished I had stayed in the dark. There are bodies, not monsters, researchers, people I know. Dr. Gerald, researcher Kim, but they weren't killed by a containment breach. A monster didn't do this. The bullet holes in their foreheads, these were executions. The Foundation guards did this. The people who protect us, they killed everyone. Why? Pietro stood frozen. The green text on his visor flickered. Integrity, 98%. The suit was heavy, a shell of advanced alloys and hidden wires, but inside, his heart felt like it was made of glass, ready to shatter. He walked past the bodies of his friends, his boots clicking rhythmically on the cold linoleum. Click, click, click. The sound echoed down the long, dark throat of the hallway.
He reached the main security hub. Usually, this place was a hive of activity, monitors glowing with the movements of 1,000 anomalies, guards joking about their coffee, the constant hum of the Foundation's heartbeat. Now there was only the hum of his own suit. He reached out a gloved hand and touched a terminal. It sparked to life, the light casting long, dancing shadows against the blood-stained walls. He navigated through the menus, his fingers trembling. He found the global broadcast, the last message sent to every Foundation site before the silence began. It wasn't a warning, it wasn't a call for help. It was a manifesto. The following is a message from the O5 Council, the text read. For those who still value humanity, our mission has changed. We have found a truth so profound, so terrible, that the only act of mercy left is the end of the human race. Secure, contain, exterminate. Pietro's breath hitched. The suit adjusted its oxygen flow, a soft hiss of cool air filling his lungs. He didn't understand. The Foundation, the secret shield of the world, had turned its sword inward. Suddenly, a red light began to pulse at the end of the corridor. Vroom, vroom, vroom. A shadow moved. It wasn't a monster. It was a Foundation MTF soldier, Mobile Task Force. They were the elite, the bravest of the brave. But as the soldier stepped into the light, Pietro saw his eyes. They weren't filled with hate. They weren't filled with madness. They were empty, like two holes cut into the universe. Pietro ducked behind a heavy steel door, pressing his back against the cold metal. He held his breath. He heard the soldier's heavy footsteps approach. The suit's invisibility module engaged with a faint, high-pitched whine. Pietro watched through the gap in the door as his own hands vanished, turning into a shimmering ripple in the air. The soldier stopped right in front of him. He looked directly at where Pietro was standing. Pietro could see the soldier's reflection in his own invisible visor. The soldier stood there for a long time, perfectly still, as if listening to the atoms in the air. Then, without a word, the soldier turned and walked away. Pietro waited until the footsteps faded into nothingness. He knew he couldn't stay here. Site 19 was a tomb. He needed to get to the surface. He needed to find out if there was anyone left who still felt human. He moved through the ventilation shafts, the suit's servos whispering as he climbed. He saw things through the grates that he wished he could forget. He saw SCP-173, the living statue, being loaded into a transport truck, not to be contained, but to be dropped into a crowded city. He saw the Foundation using the very things they once died to protect us from, turning them into weapons of mass destruction. Finally, he reached the surface. He pushed open a heavy hatch and climbed out into the Nevada night. But the night wasn't dark. The sky was a bruised purple, streaked with lines of fire. In the distance, he could see the lights of a city, perhaps Las Vegas, but the lights were flickering out, one by one, like stars dying at the end of time. Pietro sat on a rock, the desert wind whistling against his suit. The suit kept him warm, it kept him fed. It was his only friend in a world that had gone cold. He looked at the briefcase he had found in the locker, the one labeled SCP-055. He didn't know what was inside. He couldn't even remember what it looked like when he looked away, but he knew it was important. It felt like a weight, a purpose. Why? he whispered into the empty air. "Why did you do it?" The suit didn't answer. It only hummed its low, steady song, a mechanical lullaby in the middle of the apocalypse. Pietro closed his eyes for a moment, letting the suit take over. It monitored his heart rate, adjusted his temperature, and dimmed the visor to a soft golden glow. He was a ghost in a machine, wandering through a world that no longer wanted him. He stood up, his boots crunching on the desert sand. He began to walk, not towards the fire, but away from it, into the deep, quiet dark where the monsters used to hide. Now the monsters were the ones in the light, and the humans were the ones hiding in the shadows. As he walked, the rhythmic sound of his own breathing became the only clock he had. In, out, in, out. The world was ending, but Pietro Wilson was still walking, and for now, in the safety of his metal shell, that was enough.
Pietro is walking. The world is ending, but you are here, safe in the dark. Let the silence breathe with you as we move deeper into the void.
Pietro sat in the absolute darkness of the church basement, his back against a rotting wooden pillar. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and ancient, forgotten prayers. Inside the Mark III exclusion suit, the world was reduced to a green-tinted HUD and the rhythmic, artificial breath of the life support system. Hiss, click, hiss, click. He looked at the briefcase resting on his lap, SCP-5000. It was a weight he felt but could never truly remember. Every time his eyes drifted away, the suitcase became a void in his mind, a secret that refused to be known. The suit's internal clock flickered. He had been in this darkness for hours, or perhaps days. The silence was heavy, like a velvet shroud, until it was broken by a sound that made his blood turn to ice. Tap, tap, tap. It was a soft knocking on the heavy wooden door at the top of the stairs. Then a voice, a little girl's voice, sweet and terrifyingly calm, drifted through the cracks. "Mr. Pietro, are you in there? The suit is so shiny. It looks like a star hidden in the dirt." Pietro didn't move. He didn't breathe. He knew that little girl wasn't a girl. The suit's sensors began to pulse a dim, warning amber. Threat level, unstable. He heard the door creak open. The footsteps were not the light pitter-patter of a child, but the heavy, rhythmic thud of metal-reinforced boots. Thump, drag, thump, drag. A beam of light cut through the basement's darkness, not a flashlight, but a cold, clinical red light emanating from the eyes of whatever was standing at the top of the stairs. Pietro activated the suit's invisibility module. He watched as his legs, his hands, and the briefcase vanished into a shimmering ripple of air. Through the visor, he saw the figure descend. It was a Foundation MTF soldier, but his tactical gear was torn and stained with something dark and viscous. He wasn't wearing a helmet. His face had been altered. A permanent ear-to-ear smile had been surgically etched into his skin, held in place by rusted wire. His eyes had been removed, replaced by two red camera lenses that zoomed and clicked with mechanical hunger. Zzz, click, zzz, click. The smiling soldier stopped just inches from where Pietro sat. He tilted his head, the camera eyes whirring as they searched the empty air. Behind him, a line of silent people followed. They were ordinary citizens, men, women, children, holding hands in a long, unbroken chain. Their eyes were wide, their faces blank. They didn't speak, they didn't scream, they were just empty. The Foundation found the cure, Mr. Pietro. There is no more pain, no more fear, just the silence. Don't you want to be cured? Pietro felt a scream clawing at his throat, but the suit's neural dampener surged, a cold wave of calm washing over his brain. He stood up slowly, moving like a ghost. He slipped past the soldier and the chain of silent people, his footsteps absorbed by the suit's dampening field. He climbed the stairs and stepped out into the night. But the forest outside was no longer a forest. The trees had turned into pillars of white bone, and the sky was filled with stretchers, massive, spindly entities with featureless faces that drifted through the clouds, their long fingers brushing the earth like weeping willows. Pietro began to run. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to reach Site-01. The Foundation had discovered something in the human collective unconscious, something so disgusting that they chose to burn the world rather than let it live. He looked at the briefcase one last time before his mind forgot it again. He was the last human who still felt pain, the last human who still felt fear. And as the red lights of the smiling soldiers multiplied in the distance, he realized that in this new world, being human was the ultimate anomaly. The mission is all that remains, Pietro, the suit's AI whispered in a voice that sounded like his own mother. Walk, breathe, forget. We are the last lights in the dark. Rest your mind, for the road to the end is long. In, out, in, out. The world is quiet now. The world is finally cured.
And so Pietro continues his journey across the silent earth. The suit protects him. The darkness hides him. You are safe now, tucked away from the noise of the world. Let your breath match the rhythm of the suit. Slow, steady, peaceful. The story will wait for tomorrow. For now, there is only the quiet. Good night.
Subscribe and enjoy unique, terrifying stories.